Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Writers' Corner live show. Here on the Writers' Corner live show, we connect authors to each other and we help readers find new authors to love. You probably already have your favorite type of book, whether it's fiction or non-fiction, but you never know. We may just introduce you to your new favorite genre to love or help you discover books that don't fit into any of the traditional genres. Here on the Writers' Corner live show, you will meet seasoned as well as new and aspiring authors. Some of our seasoned authors will share their tips and tricks of how to get published right the first time. So on the Writers' Corner live show, you get to hear the backstories straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So join us live for the insider scoop. And if you're catching the replay, welcome to the show too. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Writers' Corner live show. I'm your host, Bridget Limbander from Cape Town in South Africa, and with me is my co-host, Mary. Mary, hello, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. So I am Mary Elizabeth Jackson. I am in Tennessee in the United States. I'm doing great. We have that weather where it's kind of cold in the morning, but then it gets really hot during the day, or the temperatures go up. So you kind of start out with the sweater and then kind of peel layers off, as you go through the day.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, but it's beautiful that we have beautiful weather, no rain. So we've just had so much rain this year. It's terrible. But we're excited to have Laura on because we did a show with her and the audio was really bad. So we're redoing our show with her today. So we're excited to have her on. I'm excited to hear what she's doing. And I think she's got a lot going on. So.
Yes, absolutely. With live, anything can happen. So today we've got Laura. Laura is a wife. She's a mom. She's also a former U.S. Army sergeant and dental hygienist. Quite a mixture there.
Wow.
And she says now, yeah, absolutely. And she says now she can also add to her different hats that she's a published author. And she's hoping to be able to transition out of hygiene and put on a hat as an author more full-time. She says after writing for many years, her publishing dreams have come true at the age of 50. 50 seems to be the magic number, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a magic number, isn't it? Yes.
It is a magic number, yes. Who says growing older isn't great? It is fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
And she says she's a ferocious reader herself and strives to write stories that she can be proud of and enjoyed by many. Ones that are not only sexy and fun, but thoughtful as well. Mm-hmm. She says a project that she's particularly proud of and honored to be a part of is Happy Holidays, which is an anthology of short stories published in November 2017. And this was the interesting part for me. She entered a competition that was started by South African-based Kwarts Publishers. They called for short stories and she entered, and out of hundreds of stories that were submitted, she was shortlisted for the 14 that was chosen.
Wonderful.
So we'll ask her a little bit more about that. Yeah. And then she also belongs to the Romance Writers of America, earning her 10 published romances pin, even though she's actually written, I think, 13 of them. Should we invite her on so she can tell us more herself?
Yeah, she has a lot going on. Absolutely.
She does. She does. Wonderful lady she is. Hold on one second. We're going to bring on Laura. And Laura, if you can angle your camera so we can see more of you. We're seeing a little bit too much of your ceiling there. We'd love to bring you on in a second and look forward to meeting you in person. And welcome, Laura. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well, thank you. Well, I guess it's morning here, not for you.
Where are you at? Where are you?
So I live in Washington State on the western side of the United States, and it is 9 o'clock, a little after 9 o'clock here this morning.
So if I were to be with you, I'd have 2 more hours this morning because it's 11
yes.
here. But it'd take me longer to get to you, so it's not worth it. But
I would have many more hours to gain because it's just after 6 p.m. my time in Cape Town.
Yeah.
So I'm well ahead of both of you.
Absolutely. So, Laura, you are friends with Dania Voss, right?
Correct. Yes, we met through.
Evernight Publishing, is that right?
Yes, Evernight Publishing. Yes.
Okay. All right. She's precious. So that's not a good word for an adult. She's a lovely lady.
Yes. Yes, it's been wonderful getting to know her and so many of the other authors associated with the publishing.
That's wonderful.
So Laura, tell us your story. Tell us how you got to become an author amongst all the other hats that you're wearing. How did you make that transition? Because we've all got a story to tell. We've all got stories within us, but not all of us put pen to paper. What is it that was the thing that made you transition to becoming a writer?
Just my love of writing. I've been writing for many, many years and penned a couple of stories and set them aside, and then went through dental hygiene school and continued to write off and on here and there. And as I progressed in the hygiene career, I knew that as much as I loved it, it was not something that I could do for many, many more years. I mean, I've already been doing it for 19, and that's quite a bit. But just slowly transitioning out. 3 years ago, I attended my first writers' conference, and I received such a spark from that, from all the other authors and people associated with the conference. And I just told myself, this is it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to sit down and become serious about it. And I polished up several of my stories. I even completed my first attempt at NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month in November, and did it. And now that story is a published romance. But after seeking out several publishers and deciding whether I wanted to self-publish or go the publishing route, I chose, well, I guess I should say they chose me because they liked my writing. With Evernight, they've published the majority of my romances, and Black Rose Writing has my debut romance. And so I'm just thrilled to keep going.
That's so exciting. So when did you sign with Black Rose Writing out of Texas?
I signed with them just over 2 years ago. My first book came out in August of 17, and that was with Black Rose.
Okay. Wonderful. Awesome.
And how did you decide between self-publishing and or not? What was the deciding factor for you? How was that journey? Because that's something that a lot of new authors and already published authors grapple with. Do I go to a publisher or do I self-publish?
Yeah. Well, starting out for me, being an emerging author, I think it was easier to make the decision to go with these publishers, with Black Rose and Evernight. And I've also worked with the Wild Rose Press, simply because I was newer at it and I just was eager to get my stories out there. I don't know a lot about tech as far as the formatting, making covers, loading things up on Amazon, although I hear it's extremely easy now these days. But it was just exciting to have that validation that these publishers wanted my work and they're willing to put it out there, and I didn't have to pay them to do that. They worked with the cover artists and the formatters and editors and getting my books available up on all the digital platforms, which I just have to write.
Yeah, we have to market. You know, I was having this conversation the other day with someone because I've had a couple of people. There are a couple of people I'm helping, and I think they're going to go the self-publishing route. But, you know, a mutual friend of Bridgetti's and I had asked my thoughts on self-publishing, and in the difference between the two, there really is, it's kind of a long conversation because there are pros and cons to both. But there are a lot of people who think once you get published, you just kind of sit around and you just don't do anything, or you wait for the money to roll in. But totally the opposite. I think you work even harder. I think writing, for me at least, is the easiest part of all of it, because
Yes.
once you have that acceptance from a publisher, then there's just so much work that has to be done, and the marketing is never ending. I mean, it's constant. It's pretty much every day that you need to be focusing on your book. And I know Reagan likes, he has a certain amount of time he likes a week. So it's either a part-time or full-time job that you're going to put into marketing and getting yourself booked and selling books. It's a lot of work.
It absolutely is. And that you said it exactly right. Marketing is huge. Getting yourself in front of readers and fans and finding different ways to make yourself known, and it can be disheartening at times, but it's something, unless you have the money to pay a publicist or pay someone to do all this work for you, which again, as an emerging author, it's very challenging. You set a budget, or you hope to keep to that budget, and then find different avenues to make yourself known. And it is a challenge, but little by little, we're gaining speed. And at some point, self-publishing may not be out of the question, but at this time, I'm not ready to go that route just yet.
Yeah, there's something quite, significant to consider. But either way, I think, a lot of the authors have shared that whether you go self-publishing or whether you go with a publisher, you need to know that marketing yourself and marketing your book is part of the journey. It's not something that you do. You don't hand over your book to your publicist and sit back and wait for the money to roll in. It doesn't work that way, right?
Exactly. We wish it would, but no, there's still a lot of work involved.
So Beth asks the question. Beth is watching live, and she asks the question: was it harder to become a published author or to be a sergeant in the U.S. Army?
Yes, I read her question, and definitely a sergeant in the U.S. Army, because it's just not me that I have to worry about. It's everyone else in my unit.
So how long were you a sergeant in the Army?
I was in for 5.5 years, and that is where I met my husband, who was in for 4. We met in Savannah, Georgia, and I was still in for a short amount of time after he separated from service. And once I found out that we were expecting our first son, several things kind of happened that led me to choose to separate from service. And I think it was better for our family life. Yeah.
Has that influenced your writing at any of your novels at all?
Yeah, I think so. I think from a life standpoint, with the discipline that I've had and knowing this is a mission, these are the tasks that I have to complete. But I also like to bring in a military flavor into some of my writing. One of my actual bestsellers with Evernight is a shorter story called The Soldier's Final Mission that deals with the soldier in combat and coming back into the civilian world and trying to cope with that, as well as win his love back that he pushed aside. But I also bring in some topics regarding the veterans. One of my stories deals with the a veteran who is working with separated veterans, trying to transition well into the civilian life. It's a challenge, but it's being accomplished.
That's very exciting. So your smaller one that you're talking about that won the award, how many words is it?
That one is about 15,000. It's what's called the novella. It's in the Evernight's line of romance on the go, which is just aimed at someone who wants a very short, quick, satisfying read with a complete story.
Which is very interesting for people who are not aware of that, that, you know, there are books like that are for on the go. I think Daniel had talked about that also, which is wonderful, you know, for traveling in the airport and in a car and over a weekend and at night when you have extra time to read and you don't have a lot of time, but you want to get a book in. I don't know that, well, I guess there are people who can read 15,000 words in one night. but or over a weekend, definitely that is I think that you could also absolutely do. I think it's great to have some of those shorter books, because I know for myself, being so busy, and a busy mom, I have dog years and or book markers in several different books. So I don't get through them, but I'll start one, and then I'll go to another one, and it's not a disciplined thing. It's a time limit thing,
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
And I love to read, but wow, when I look at really big books, I'm like, I'll never get through that.
I know. And especially, yeah, with our busy lives, and you still have children. My boys are grown, they're on their own. So I, balance that time between work and writing and spending time with my husband. And so I have a little bit of an advantage not having the children at home right now.
So I know Brigitte always likes to know this, and I do too. So is everyone really supportive of what you're doing? Or, because sometimes when if you have not been a writer before, and I know I face this, so it hasn't been like your profession through your mom life. When you do go into that, you have to make that time, and you have to make sure you have that support around you to allow you that time to do that. And sometimes that's hard, because sometimes somebody might feel a little bit, I need you right now, kind of thing. And as a mom, I'm used to doing that. So that's been a real balance, a challenging balance for me. I try to do everything I can when nobody's home, because when everybody's home, well, it's just kind of, it's a zoo.
Oh, definitely. Time management is huge, even for me, because I'm still working 3 days as a hygienist, and I actually travel out of town for work. So I'm gone 3 days and 2 nights, and it's a sacrifice that we make, but it's worth it. Being at the fantastic office that I'm in, and I know hubby can take care of himself while I'm gone. So when I am home, it's all about time management, deciding when I'm going to do the food prep and the laundry, and spending time with him, and getting some writing in, and doing that marketing bit. So it's a challenge.
It is.
Yeah.
And I saw it. I'm trying to think. I saw something on Instagram. It was one of the moms that post, and I can't remember which one it was, but it was like, have an hour to myself. And then they, she spouted off 10 different things. Am I going to do this, that, what am I going to get done? How much of it can I get done in an hour? And it's sad to feel that way, but that's exactly how life is when you're a busy mom.
Yeah. Yes. And pretty soon I'll get to add grandma to my resume, because our youngest son is expecting his first child the end of August. So we're pretty excited about that.
I'm so excited. Well, I'll have to send you one of my books, or a copy of each, or something like that, because they're for little bitties. So
okay.
They're for the little ones in life. So what is your next project?
Well, I'm currently working on my 3rd story in a series. I tried my hand at a little bit of paranormal. It's a very light side of paranormal, but I'm writing about shifters, Native American Indians who are within clans of shifters. There's hawk shifters, wolf shifters, fox shifters, and the idea for these stories came about from an anthology call that Evernight had put out. And while my initial story did not make their anthology, they were very intrigued with the story and asked me to expand on it. And I did. I turned a 20,000 word story into almost 40,000 words. Wow. And the first 2 books are out. And so I'm currently working on that 3rd one right now, and have several others on the back burner. I have a 6-story romance in a small town romance setting kind of plotted out that I'm anxious to get to as well. And so always something going on.
Oh, absolutely. So how much research did you have to do? Because you're talking about paranormal. So you're talking about shape shifting, right?
Correct.
Okay. So did you do a lot of research, or is this all coming from the creativeness? part of you?
Pretty much 99% of it is creativeness, because I enjoy reading certain paranormal as well. And my mother always asked me if I was going to write paranormal. I thought, well, there's people out there doing it much better than me. So I'm just keeping it on the lighter side. There's a bit of a military aspect to it, as well as suspense. So it's been pretty fun. Most of the research that I've done on these stories deals with the geography. The first book is set in Arizona, associated with Fort Huachuca, and the second one is down in Central America. So just researching the climates, the zones down there in the different countries, and finding little tidbits to throw in within the writing.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So, do you have, I didn't know Brigetti was going to ask. Brigetti, do you want to ask a question?
Yes, Laura.
Okay.
Tell us, in terms of your book circulation, how did that develop? Did you have to work a lot at it with your publisher, or did it just grow organically over time?
Well, with Black Rose, my book initially was available print, digital, and audio. And so marketing all those different aspects, appealing to the different readers who like the different formats. With Evernight, the bulk of their books are distributed in digital. Longer length books, I believe, I want to say maybe 60,000 words or more, maybe it's 70,000 words or more, can be offered in print as well. But just getting them out there on the different digital platforms, I believe there's like 7 different digital platforms out there available. And so just marketing that, getting readers, because that's the way that a lot of readers are going now in the digital, with their apps on their phone or their laptops, their tablets, their Kindles, their readers. So.
Do you see that there's more of a demand for digital as the platforms evolve and grow, and more people are wanting to read on the devices? I know there's still some people who, I know some people who love the feel of the page, who wants to turn the page, and so they won't swap that to digital. But you're seeing this whole new emerging market of the younger generation in particular. For them, it's all about digital and having access to their devices, and of course a plethora of books on the go. So if you were to go between the two, or do you still believe we should have both? Or where do you see the growth pattern in terms of print versus digital?
I do think that both should still be offered, because as you said, yes, many people still love to hold that book in their hands, and I'm even one of them. I don't typically buy hardbacks anymore just due to the cost, but I buy a lot of paperbacks. But digital is probably first and forefront, that it's so easy. You can have so many different books on your devices. You can pull up a book anytime you want to, because it's rare that people are without their phones and on their persons. So when they think, they have a few extra minutes, they want to get in some reading, it's so easy to do. And I see that digital is going to be huge. It already is, but it's going to become even more so.
Yeah, it's not just an emerging market; it's a growing market at a rapid rate. And so, who's your biggest fan in your family?
I would probably say my sister. She's 3 years younger than me, and she's a huge reader as well. She typically will read. I'll ask her to read many of my stories to get an idea of what she thinks, how's the plot, the flow, what am I doing wrong, what does she like, and she's probably.
And that feedback's important, because it's an honest feedback from somebody who really cares for you, and so having somebody on your team that can be both objective and supportive at the same time, I think, is wonderful.
Yes, and many people say don't ask your family members because they're biased. But my sister Penny, she will give it to me straight and honest. She'll say, I'm not quite feeling this, or maybe try this. She'll catch all my little errors when I think I've already spell checked everything.
I think that adds a new dynamic to it if you have somebody in your family, because yes, they may be a teeny weeny bit biased, but they'll be hardcore about picking up stuff that's wrong as well, because they also have an objectivity or an insight into how you think and feel and write that others may not necessarily have.
Yes, I believe that's true as well. Yes.
So if you were to tell your younger self anything on your journey as a writer now, what would that be?
I think the biggest thing would be fearless, take more chances. I'm such an introvert growing up, a very shy person. I didn't do a whole lot as far as activities or sports or clubs. Pretty much stuck to myself, had a few close friends, but I was always just afraid to put myself out there. And I think a certain aspect, many people are. They're either afraid of failure, rejection, or embarrassment, but just do what you want to do. Just take that chance.
I think I've heard that from a number of authors. When I've asked a similar question, they've all said they wish they had put themselves out there earlier, and not felt afraid to do that. Because basically, becoming an author and doing something like what Mary and I are doing now, live streaming, you are putting yourself out there, and you have this self-doubt, about yourself, because that's what you're doing. You're basically putting yourself in the public space when you become an author, and you think, am I, should I, could I, what about, what will my family think, especially if I'm writing something about my family or my friends, my circle of, and you have all that self-doubt stuff going through your head. And once you become published, once you actually do it, you think, why didn't I do that any sooner? But it's normal, natural feelings. People need to know it's normal to self-doubt, isn't it?
Oh, it absolutely is, because you're putting yourself out there. You're opening yourself up for more critique, and some is good, some is not so good. You have to develop a bit of a thick skin as well, knowing that you're proud of what you're doing. Not everyone's
going to resonate. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And that's okay. It's okay. Not everyone will resonate with your writing or your style of writing, and that's okay, because the people that resonate will gravitate towards you.
Well, and not one person can write all the books out there for all the genres, for all people. So, it's one of those things that is very saturated, just like, music business and film and TV, all that stuff is very saturated. So you have to find what is your what is your thing? What is your, go get them? What is, what makes you stand out from others? That's very important.
Yeah.
Laura, we're at the end of our interview. I can't believe the time has gone by so very, very quickly. Quickly tell people, where can they find you?
I am all over the social media platforms. I have a Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram. I have a YouTube channel, which is very immature at this time, or I guess I should say it's in its infancy, which I'm hoping to build. I have little trailers of all of my books, but I'm hoping to do maybe some live readings or something else and get as brave as you and Mary and do something on a more regular basis. But yeah, I have my website, lauramBairdauthor.com. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Awesome. I want to say a huge big thank you to our live audience today, and to everyone who's watching us on the replay. If you enjoyed watching this broadcast, please do share it. And so from myself, Bridget Lamband in Cape Town, South Africa, it's goodbye for now.
Thank you.
And from Mary Elizabeth Jackson in Tennessee, it's goodbye. Laura, thank you so much. I'm so excited you could be here today and that we could get great audio this time.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. To both of you.
Bye.